guys, I'm Tracie Goodman and I am the Agriculture and Natural Resource and 4-H agent with McCreary County Extension. Today I'm going to show you how to do fruit tree grafting with this lovely apple tree that I've got behind me. So fruit tree grafting is such a neat process because you can take a tree that you may have had for a really long time, it's your favorite apple tree, and you can produce a replica of that tree by grafting the scion wood, which is a piece from the existing tree, onto your rootstock. Now, rootstock is as it sounds, it is the root part of your tree. Now, rootstock is usually grown in nurseries, and there are several different varieties of rootstock. This one in particular is M7, and this rootstock was chosen because it determines what size your apple tree is going to get. So primarily that is what rootstock determines, is the size that your apple tree is going to get. So if you want a dwarf size tree, if you want one that is about 50% standard size, which is what the M7 is, or if you want one that's about 90% standard size, you can select what size you want your tree to be by selecting your rootstock. Now these are also selected for disease resistance and compatibility with the cultivar that you're grafting onto. Now the other piece of this puzzle is your scion wood. Now scion wood is the piece that you take from your existing apple tree, and you want this to be from last year's growth. That is what you are going to attach to this piece of rootstock to make your new apple tree. Now there are two methods that I'm going to show you today. One is the whip and tongue graft that I'm going to make with just a pocket knife, and that is how a lot of people do it. People are really successful doing it that way. And then I'm also going to show you how to graft using a grafting tool. So the difference is this makes your cut for you and lines it up nicely. It's already perfect whenever you make the cut, and it fits together like a glove. Using a pocket knife, you have to be a little bit more precise and make the cuts manually. Now, some of the other tools that I suggest having is a pair of pruners to cut your scion wood with. You're going to want a pair of gloves, especially if you're doing this with a pocket knife, because you don't want to cut your fingers. You're going to need grafting tape. In this case, we have masking tape just for demonstration purposes, but they do sell grafting tape specifically for the purpose of grafting fruit trees. And then I also have an alcohol wipe to sanitize my tools with. So what we're going to do first is clip our piece of scion wood that we're going to graft onto our rootstock. Okay, so remember I had an alcohol wipe? I'm going to take that and sterilize anything that I'm using to make those cuts with. So I'm going to sterilize my pruning shears. And then, because we're going to use a knife blade for the first one, I'm going to sterilize the end of that too. And this is just to make sure if there are any diseases present, they don't pass back and forth to the tree. So what I did was snip a water sprout out of this apple tree, and what that is the shoots that grow up straight from your limbs, and this is new growth. You also want to take your scion wood whenever it's still dormant. You don't want it whenever anything has bloomed out. So now is probably the best time to collect your scion wood. Okay, so your general rule is that on your rootstock, whenever you get done and you're ready to plant it, you want your grafting union to be about 3 to 4 inches above the soil line. So we can snip a little bit off of this rootstock, which we'll snip it off about right here. And we want this scion wood to be the same diameter as the end of this so that our graft will stick together good. So we're also going to find the point where we get our pieces to line up, and probably about right there is good. So we're going to make a cut right there too, and this is on our scion wood. Okay, so that shows they're about the same diameter and they're going to line up pretty good. So now is where we make the cuts to do our graft. Okay, so what we're going to do with the pocket knife is a whip and tongue graft. The first cut that we're going to make is the whip cut, and that is a diagonal cut up to the point. And this is why we have gloves, because we do not want to cut our hand. Straighten that up a little bit. Okay, that'll work for the whip part. Now we're going to make the tongue, which is a little slit. So we're going to dig in a little bit there and make a cut down. We're going to try to be good and easy with it because you don't want to end up splitting it. Okay, so it might look a little bit pitiful, but there's our tongue and our whip. So now we have to do the same thing to the piece of scion wood. Okay, so there's our kind of raggedy looking whip. We're going to make our tongue now. Okay, so there is our whip and the tongue piece. Now we're going to try to fit them together. Okay, so I've got my whip and tongue graft on both sides. I'm going to line them up, and then you're going to push them together so that they fit together like that. And then what you're going to do is tape around this. Now, like I said, I have masking tape today, but typically you would want to use grafting tape because it's going to hold that together and seal it up a little bit better. But I will show you how to tape this. Okay, so you're going to make sure it's joined up really good, and these two parts are going to grow together. So you want to seal it up, make sure that these wounds heal up, and make sure that they can grow together properly. So we're just going to wrap some tape around it a couple of times. Make sure that whole area is covered with your tape. Alright, and then also what you're going to do is this scion has a lot of lateral buds on it. So you don't necessarily want that many for a brand new tree, because the more that they have, when it grows, it'll push that water up through the tree, and it might also unseal your graft. So what we're going to do is cut it off, leave a few of these little buds, and cut it off on the top. Alright, and there you have it, your first little grafted apple tree from this old Macintosh apple tree behind me. Okay, so now I'm going to show you a much easier way of doing this, and that is by using a grafting tool. So a grafting tool has this little blade that's already shaped to make your perfect cut in there. So what you do with this, I've already cut a new piece of scion wood and I've got my rootstock. You're going to take the end of your scion wood, stick it in the end of this, make sure that it's centered, then you're going to make your cut. And it makes you a perfect little groove right there. So we're going to do the same thing to our rootstock. Alright, so there's the end of our rootstock. We're going to do the same exact thing on the end of that. Make sure it's centered. Then it made the same exact cut on the end there. So now, instead of using our pocket knife to clean everything up, we've already got our cuts perfect. So what you're going to do is line them up just like this, fit them together, and then see how nice and tight that joins together. So that is definitely the way that I prefer to do this, because it makes a lot cleaner of a cut and you're going to get more precision using a grafting tool. So we're going to tape this the same way that we did the other one, and we will have another complete grafted fruit tree. Okay, so I hope you all consider grafting your very own fruit trees using either one of these methods. They're both successful. We also have rootstock available at the extension office right now. We have the M7 like we grafted onto today, which is about 50% size of a standard apple tree, and then we also have pear that comes to about the same size as well. So if you have a favorite pear or apple tree, stop by the extension office, get you some rootstock, go home and cut your own scion wood and graft you a new fruit tree. I hope you all found this informative, and if you have any questions about fruit trees in general, give me a call at the extension office. Thanks for watching.